Guys, I'm back. Greetings and salutations. It's your host with the most, Paul Plantu, and I've been waiting on this day for a minute. Today is my backyard pond build. And remember, before we get started, Earth is my planet.
Earth is my planet.
Guys, today I'm throwing in a pond in my backyard, and I wanted to do a giant one initially, but considering the fact that I'm going to have children in the near future, I don't want them to accidentally step in a giant pond and not know how to swim. So I'm starting off small, and I'm going to work my way up with a pond that is going to be built on an extremely tight budget. So I want this to be a nice little water feature to bring in birds, insects, and other wildlife into my backyard environment. That way I can get that natural habitat certification going on to have a nice little wildlife area in my backyard. And we're starting with a $50 prefab pond that I got on OfferUp. Okay, so here we go, man. This is the prefab that I got on OfferUp. It basically is like Facebook Marketplace, except on a mobile app. I don't know. Either way, this retails for $105 at Lowe's. It is the exact same one they sell, but I did get it for 50 bucks. So I definitely recommend, if you guys want a prefabricated pond to look, you guys can get one used. There were a ton that were available, but this one happened to fit perfectly in the area that I want it to go. It's a nice little 50-gallon. And I think it'll be a good starting place for me to get acclimated to growing aquatic plants and purifying water and maybe having a couple fish. So the placement of the pond is going to be right here in this teardrop bed that I built a few weeks ago. And I was going to have this be like a pepper / salsa garden, which I still am going to do, but I'm going to have those plants surrounding the pond. So first things first, I need to move all these bricks and see if I can dig a hole to halfway submerge my prefab pond. All right, beautiful. We have all the bricks removed, and now it's time to place the pond where I think it should go, which is roughly in the middle of this teardrop, and then see if I can actually dig a hole to slide part of it into the ground. All right, so roughly speaking, I need this much of it to hit the ground, which is probably about like 8 to 10 inches, and we'll see if that will work. So first things first, I had to create an outline in the shape of the bottom of the pond to make sure that the hole I dug was the proper shape. So once the outline was created, I started the arduous task of digging the hole. This was hands down the hardest part of the entire pond build. I'm not even kidding. All right, guys, I've excavated for like 5 minutes, and good news is I haven't hit any pipe work, always a plus, but this thing is crisscrossed with a ton of roots. So I'm gonna need to get rid of all these guys and then slowly sink the ship into its hole. So we'll see what'll happen, but for now, let me obliterate some roots.
So here we go. Plan 2 versus tree roots. The task was hard. He hit them with a pickaxe. He hit them with the hedge clippers. He dug, and he dug, and he dug some more until there was no more digging left. And then, Mama, he made it.
Level, baby. Okay, guys, I've been digging, leveling, all of that. I don't know how long this is taking, maybe like an hour, hour and a half. Not too bad. The roots were a pain, but we got them out the way. Everything is level. So now what I'm gonna do is put in a couple heavy rocks. That way it doesn't pop up or shift position. And then backfill some of the gaps with some dirt. And then we're gonna start to actually bring this pond to life. Whew, I'm excited. And I'm glad I'm not sinking this all the way in the ground, because that would be like 3 times harder, at least. But aside from my laziness, the real reason why I'm elevating the pond above ground level is because my backyard floods during heavy rains, and I wouldn't want any fish to swim out or any yard debris to flow in. So I'm building kind of a volcano that the pond resides in. Okay, so in this volcanic scenario, the pond is the caldera, and to build the sides, I'm using all of the dirt that was the hole, or in the hole, whatever, y'all know what I mean. All the dirt that I dug up is what I'm using right now to build the sides, to support the pond, and to make sure when it fills with water, it doesn't go anywhere. Okay, so instead of going to the store and buying dirt, what I'm gonna use is all of the compost I've accumulated over like the last 8 months. And so that'll be free 99. Half of it probably isn't even broken down, but that'll go on the edges. But the part that's a rich, fertile soil, I'll use to bank up the rest of the pond. Amazing. So I have a ton of, I don't know, like premature compost put around the clay, so that way it will enrich the soil all around this area. But I also want to put in a couple of plants before I add even more dirt atop of this whole area. So I have a guava that I definitely want to throw in because it is evergreen, and if birds want to land on a branch before they take a little dive in the pond, this will be the perfect spot. I also have this agapanthus that I'm going to throw in, and then this little Duranta gold. So just a couple of things. I'm going to add a ton more plants as time goes on, but these are just what I have on hand that I think will look really, really cool. And I want a nice evergreen little burst of growth happening around the pond area. So I'm going to put these guys in, and also using the roots of these potted plants, they will help solidify the structure. So that is the goal I'm going with the agapanthus. And also I'm adding a little bit of topsoil around the edges just to make sure there's a nice level area around the outskirts of the pond. Okay guys, fantabulous. We have pretty much all the topsoil lining the exterior of the pre-built pond, and I want to throw in 2 plants before I get to laying down the rocks. That way I can work around these guys. And one is going to be this bromeliad right here, super cool. I love the red color. And then this Duranta gold. This adds a nice lemon lime green, something like a delicious popsicle in the summertime. So we have the plants in the ground, they're looking amazing, and now it's time to start laying down some of the rocks, which I'm really excited about. And I have a bunch of different rocks, all of which I got for absolutely free. So the ones I'm probably going to use first and foremost, I was blessed with because they were buried underneath the plants that were in this property. So I don't know how long these have been here, but essentially they're these really nice brown like flagstones, and I have a ton of these guys. I did use them in the front of my yard when I created my first gardening project ever like 2 years ago. Then I have the classic urbanite. So what urbanite is it is concrete, just broken concrete. Now these I found outside of someone's house. They were on the curb. Some of them I got from my fence posts that were buried. This one was like a chunk of pavement that was here. Now last and not least, I found these guys that were all thrown out. Someone was redoing their pool area. I guess they had a jacuzzi that was lined. These are like a lighter beige color. Super cool looking. I don't know if I'm going to use this color. It does kind of match, but I want a little bit of differentiation, I think, between the rocks and the bricks. And then the previous homeowner also, I guess, bought a couple of unique rock specimens that they also had on the property, such as these guys right here. These look lovely. I might use a mixture of all the different rocks, but I think I'm gonna line the pond with these amazing flagstones right here. So let's get to it. All right, now when it came to laying down the rocks, it was relatively simple. I just used the most flat rocks and the rocks that kind of had a natural curve to conceal the edges of the pond. I see a lot of people use these prefab ponds and they never conceal the edges, and so it really does just look like a piece of plastic in your yard. And I want to disguise this and make it look as natural as possible, so that is why I am lining the edges with rocks that seem to fit with the curvature of the prefabrication, dude. It pretty much is that simple, and we keep it popping like a pimple. So I saved a lot of the smaller rocks, laid them all down first, and once the first layer of rocks was there, then I went to top and added some more just for extra security, a little bit more weight, and to ensure that my dogs wouldn't climb up and just knock rocks into the pond. Now another key step is variation in the stone structure. So I added these smooth river rocks in between some of the crevasses, and it really does add a nice place for your eyes to move about the edges of the pond. Guys, we got the rocks laid down, and this looks super freaking sick. I'm not even playing. It looks really good right now the way it is, but obviously, man, I went and I bought a hose, I bought a waterfall feature, so we gotta throw in a waterfall into this pond, and it's going to be right here. And y'all know me, if I'm throwing in a waterfall, it can't be any waterfall. Hell no. I had to get this giant pot because my whole backyard theme is kind of like a lost temple in the jungle. So right now I'm adding some structure with some heavy rocks to balance the pot a pond. And yeah, I got this pot for 20 bucks at an estate sale. So right now I'm just preparing the area, and dude, there it is, baby. Yes. All right, guys. So now I need to weigh down this pot. So I'm gonna use some of that urbanite, which you won't see, to tilt up the waterfall and kind of conceal what I got going on. Then I spent a few hours laying bricks around the pond, and it looked absolutely horrible, so I knew the natural look was the way to go. And I started it off by adding this huge boulder. And then the rest of the process didn't really have any rhyme or reason. I just would place rocks, stand back, and then move them and see if they looked right in that position. And there was a ton of rearranging. I'm not even gonna lie to you guys. This took multiple attempts to really get the layout right, especially with some of the more unique rock varieties I had. But it's like, get in where you fit in with the rocks, cross your fingers, hope for the best, and just know you're probably gonna rearrange them 3 to 5 more times until you get the perfect look. This literally is just all in the eye of the beholder, but my God, that is a nice boulder. Now, before I added all the rest of the rocks, I had to fill some crevasses with plants, and these plants hang over. They're called golden globes. They're gonna be covered with flowers. I also threw in this beautiful fern on more of the shady side. And then of course I had to pack it in with some more rocks. And then, dude, we weren't stopping there. I added a couple ground covers. These are called frog fruit, native to the area. Some nice lime green moss to absorb some of that moisture. And then this bad boy, the Louisiana iris. I can't wait to see it flower. But y'all know me, I had to throw in some plants that are edible. So I had some basil chunked in. I threw in this jalapeno, some parsley off camera. And then to shore up the overall structure, I chunked in this giant branch I found on the side of the road. And then I concealed it with some more rocks on the back end, just to complete the outer crust of my pond mountain structure. So this is crazy. I have all the rocks laid down. Dude, the pond looks freaking awesome, man. I'm not even gonna lie. Just check this thing out. Oh my God. All right, so what I'm gonna do right now is set up my pond filter / waterfall. And just to reiterate, this is a pond on a budget. So this little filtration pad was 11 bucks. The waterfall piece was $27. And all you had to do was just layer up this absorbent part, shove it in there all nice and deep like. You could have cut it if you wanted to. Then I topped it off with some nice lava rocks. This whole bag was, I think, 6 bucks at Lowe's. And that's pretty much all you need to filter a pond. Then I placed my plastic giant waterfall filtration system into the pot, and I ran a hose through the back to connect it. All right, guys, so now that we have the waterfall installed, it's time to grab a bunch of rocks to fill up the bottom of the pond. And luckily, the previous homeowner dumped a ton of them on the side of the house, so I don't even have to buy any rocks for this project whatsoever. Let's go. Perfect. So we have a giant wheelbarrow full of rocks that are going to form the bottom of the pond. But instead of just throwing them in because they are covered in dirt and other nastiness, I'm going to go ahead and fill up this whole wheelbarrow with water. That way it'll rinse off at least some of the initial dirt that's on these guys. That way the water can be as clear as possible, relatively speaking, from the get-go. All right, the water's kind of murky. It's time to start throwing these rocks into the pond, give a place for bacteria to grow, and make it look more naturalistic. Let's get to tossing. Oh, what a lob. All right, once there were enough river rocks in the pond, I just leveled them out by hand, and then I used all the remaining rocks I dug up just to add more texture, more layers, more colors, more variation of form to the overall outside structure of the pond. And I love the way it came out with all the little river rocks dotted throughout the design. All right, let's take a peek in the pond, and y'all can see there are a bunch of little gaps in between these larger river rocks. So I went ahead and I ran and I got some pea gravel at Lowe's, and it was $5 for this bag. Now again, man, these rocks are, Ranger, you are so curious. These rocks are very dirty. So I'm gonna go ahead and pour them all in one of these planters, run the water through it, and then chunk them to fill in all the gaps. in the pond. That way there's a maximum surface area for bacteria and other beneficial aspects of life to grow and flourish. But the pond is looking lovely. All right guys, now it's time, man. I'm gonna chunk it the pump, connect the tubing, and fill it up with water. So let's put in this little $17 Amazon pump. Hopefully it's strong enough. I don't know, I was just being as cheap as possible. But I'm excited to see this waterfall go. Hopefully it works, and just to fill this guy up with water and have the wildlife come through. Let's get it. All right, so I definitely was balling on a budget with this pump, but it had over 1,000 reviews on Amazon, if I'm correct. And the pumps at Home Depot and Lowe's were like 4 to 5 times more expensive, and I didn't need a giant pump for this little 50-gallon pond, so I just stuck it on the side with the suction cups, and then I used some hedge clippers to chop up the piping, which by the way was only 20 bucks, and I did grab this piping at Lowe's. I cut it nice and clean, then attached it to the pump. All right, so we have everything connected. I hope the pump stays where it's supposed to be. I kind of have the tubing concealed behind these rocks. I could make it look better, but I'm just too eager at this point to see if the system overall works. But first and foremost, we gotta fill it up with water and see what's happening. All right, so straight up, this is the craziest part. This is the moment of truth. I really should have tested if this had any leaks before I did all this, because that would be tragic if in fact it did. So take note, guys, do that beforehand, because I pulled a stupid on this one, but I have faith. Okay, so as the pond fills up with water, we're gonna do a final breakdown of the budget. I spent $129 on equipment. That includes the prefab pond itself, which was $50, the waterfall, the hose, the pump, the lava, and gravel rocks. And then I spent $100 on plants, which is really what busted through on the budget and made this a little bit more expensive. If you're doing this, you guys can grow plants from seeds, but I was blessed with the free rocks. Again, collect some broken concrete, some asphalt, and you guys can make a pond like this on a budget as well. But we are nearing the top. The water has almost filled up the pond, and there's only one thing left to do, and that's to get the waterfall pumping and running. All right, so here we go, man. Ranger is curious. This fool's about to hop in here. I feel it. He doesn't like baths though, so I don't know. But let's check out if the pump will turn on and function. And all right guys, there it is. The pond is 100% complete. It is the next day, and man, if y'all enjoyed this build, please smash the like button. There's a multitude of ways to build a pond on a budget, but we're gonna go ahead and just roll the final slow-mo footage of what the pond looks like 110% complete. And don't worry, I'm gonna follow up by getting some fish, getting some more plants, and breaking down the whole ecosystem in its entirety. But smash the like button if you guys enjoyed, subscribe if you aren't already, and here we go. Here is my pond on a budget, complete. So yeah, hopefully y'all enjoyed. Remember, Earth is my planet.
Earth is my planet.
I'll catch y'all soon. Peace.
Killing these songs, leaving a bloody life I roost to. And I'm in it to win it, so I'm somebody that you should get used to.